Hi, my name is Dakota Severs, and for my environmental management class this past semester, I was tasked with creating social media components like this video, along with an essay about the LeBlanc Forest Natural Area and the proposed Mississippi River Bridge. The next few slides will briefly speak on the history of the area and the forest itself, details on the bridge, and impacts construction could possibly have. So, for some context on the area for those who are unfamiliar, here are some Plaquemine Point and Sunshine historical facts. Sunshine falls within the Plaquemine Point landscape in Iberville Parish. In 1763, Fort San Gabriel was built, and in 1767, Plaquemine Point was a Spanish outpost and 200 Acadian settlers moved onto the land. Two plantations have been built on Plaquemine Point, the Lucky and the Bagatelle Plantation. The LeBlanc Forest Natural Area falls in the middle of Plaquemine Point, and the historical landscape has been well kept since the land has been mostly private owned. The LeBlanc Forest Natural Area is a 60-acre stretch of bottomland hardwood on the peninsula of Plaquemine Point in Iberville Parish. It is named after Alfonso Etienne LeBlanc Sr., one of the Acadian settlers and the relative of one of the current forest landowners. The forest has many federal and state recognitions for its aging content, such as being included in the Old Growth Forest Network. This organization is a nonprofit that focuses on preserving and protecting old growth and indigenous forests. The forest is registered with the Louisiana Purchase Legacy Organization as well as with the Wildlife Diversity Division of Department Wildlife and Fisheries. These networks, specifically the Old Growth Forest Network and the Louisiana Purchase Legacy Organization, have identified legacy trees, which are trees that were standing and alive during the time of the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, as well as other cypress trees ranging from 220 to 360 years in age. The entire forest is owned by 16 people, and this group of landowners came together with a shared goal of wanting to protect these trees. One of their efforts included getting the tree listed with the Louisiana Registry of Natural Areas in 2022. The goal of the Mississippi Bridge that is proposed to be built is to decongest traffic and overall reduce travel time on LA1 North. It would connect LA1 and LA30 and be 4 lanes and 12 feet wide with shoulders 8 feet wide. The 3 proposed sites are above, and each is claimed to reduce travel time by 50%. The sites are all located in Iberville Parish and would all pass over the Mississippi River at Plaquemine Point. The most favorable site is E1140, which would run through the middle of Plaquemine Point and, yes, cross over the LeBlanc Forest Natural Area. The E1140 site is said to have the least impact on wetlands despite the amount of old-growth cypress trees present. It would require pylons to be built on the LeBlanc and Cox properties, which can be seen in the bottom right photo. This photo is a close-up image of exactly how the E1140 proposed site would cut through the properties. The darkened line across the properties is a small canal, and on the northern side of it are the eldest old-growth cypress that hold the Alive in 1803 distinction from the LA Purchase Cypress Legacy Organization. Here are some possible impacts of construction at Site E1140. I've split it into 4 categories: environmental, cultural, social, and economic. Starting with environmental, it is possible that there could be damage to wildlife on Plaquemine Point. This wildlife includes bald eagles, different types of squirrels and owls, bobcats, turkeys, and white-tailed deer. The forest also contains tree species such as cypress, oak, maple, and elm. Cypress trees and old-growth forests in general perform a variety of ecosystem services such as carbon sequestration and storage, soil retention, floodwater and strong wind mitigation, nutrient cycling, temperature control, they better air quality, and they provide storm buffer and habitats for unique wildlife. Damaging the forest would have negative impacts on the landscape but also the surrounding community since they benefit from all these ecosystem services. During construction, air, water, soil, and noise pollution would most likely increase. While that is true for all of the proposed sites, this is the only location putting an old-growth cypress tree at risk. Old-growth cypress tree forest at risk and the specific services they provide. Going into cultural, as previously mentioned, Plaquemine Point has an extensive history that can be dated back as far as the 1700s. There have not been any archaeological efforts made to see if there is anything left of past settlements, and it is unclear whether or not a dig is in future plans. There is an African American cemetery, church, and quite a few unmarked graves on the peninsula, and these sites have not been studied either. The Lucky Plantation is located near where one of the proposed sites would go into the peninsula and intersecting areas that were once settled by the Spanish and never fully studied for historical artifacts. The construction of the bridge could potentially mean inadvertently erasing important historical and cultural information. To add on, developers have not initiated any contact or work with the State Historic Preservation Office, and no action aligning with the National Historic Preservation Act, Section 106, has been made. Also, damage to a forest that has been in the Como family for over 200 years is possible. The social impacts of construction include increased community outrage over lack of communication from officials about the project. The community has expressed a lack of communication between them and the people in charge of the project, LEDOTD. The people of Plaquemine Point have said that they have to routinely check websites and news postings in order to see about any updates about public meetings or on the timeline of the project. There are quite a few news articles featuring Laura and Cliff Como, two of the owners at the at-risk forest, and for this, how community members have to keep up with project details. It is said that the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development did not actually reach out to the members of the community until late August 2023, which is much later than when talks about the project actually started. This communication was just to ask for access to the land in order to perform studies during the process of gathering information on the 3 possible sites. Besides social issues, there are quite a few economic issues that have to be addressed. Many have asked how the state will pay for the bridge/overall project, which will generate a bill of at least $3 million. Other sources, however, say that the project should cost $1.5 billion and that, I meant $3 billion earlier. Other sources say that $1.5 billion is how much the project should cost, and that there has been a one-time $300 million budget approved by legislators for the project. It is unclear which source is more up to date. Officials are currently conducting an environmental assessment, so they will go through the proper legal process of finding out how the wildlife and environment will be impacted. If people have an issue with construction of the bridge, they can speak to news outlets as the Comos have and write letters to the officials listed by the Old Growth Forest Network asking for the bridge to not be built at the E1140 site due to its risk to the old growth forest. The public can also go to meetings held about the bridge so that they can voice their concerns. For those worried about possible archaeological value of the land, efforts to reach out to the State Historic Preservation in the same manner as with the government officials may be beneficial. As for mitigation concerns for the project, the government can either pick E1140 for the bridge or not. There is little to be compromised in that regard. However, measures can be taken to try and limit damage if the site is chosen. So those are some possible solutions to any impacts that may occur. That is all for my presentation. Thank you for your time. Here are sources that I used to make the PowerPoint, and in the caption I will list all of my sources I used when completing the entire assignment for my class. Again, thank you for listening.